Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. We made it, and I am pumped for this conversation with a legend in the storage industry, Eric Herzog of Infinidat. Eric, how are you?
Great. How are you? Always love talking to you, Evan. It's been great. We've been doing it, what, 25 years now? Ever since we became an analyst, we've had these chats at any company I'm at. So again, thank you for including Infinidat.
Occasional analyst, and you are always so full of insight and wisdom in this industry. So I'm really intrigued to dive in again. And even if you're not a storage enthusiast or insider, you can learn so much from Eric. Maybe introduce yourself, and for those who aren't aware, who's Infinidat? Give us the story here.
Okay. So my name is Eric Herzog. I'm the CMO in Infinidat. I've done nothing but storage. I've done everything from raw hard drives at Maxtor, Seagate, and the IBM hard drive division before it was sold. I've done storage systems at IBM, at EMC. I've done 7 startups. Thank goodness, Evan. 5 of them were acquired. Only one of them went bankrupt. So that's been nice. And then Infinidat, we are a 12-year-old company. We are focused on high-end enterprise storage. In fact, 25% of the Fortune 50 are our customers. So pretty good for a small company who competes obviously with big companies. And our real focus is on delivering not just technical value, but business value. Things like cyber storage resilience or the capability of getting a return on investment on enterprise storage in 11 months or less. And you know it even better than me. I don't think either of us have ever met a CIO as a storage guy. So, talking about storage, they don't really like to. But if you say, how about getting that SAP workload that used to take 5 hours to 30 minutes? Or how about spending $1 million or 2, except your ROI is 6 months, then they perk up, right? And so it really is a different ball game from other elements of the industry. I would say in IT, storage is probably, although it's the most critical, and yes, I'm biased, but remember, in the enterprise, almost every stitch of valuable data they have is sitting on enterprise storage. Yet at the same time, it's usually not very well respected outside the storage community, yet it's so critical to the data that large enterprises, government institutions, and certainly in the service provider space, right? They're selling services to you and me, and guess what it is? It's usually our data. So it's very critical for them to understand how storage is intricate in the data center, and how if you don't do storage right, you will mess up the data and you'll be in big trouble.
Big trouble indeed. And you have a really interesting promise, a commitment towards 100% data availability and really impressive recovery times, which we'll dive into. What's behind that commitment, that promise you make to customers and partners? Maybe illuminate the
Sure,
technology that
sure.
that allows you to make a promise like that, which is no small feat.
So we've done a couple of things. So first of all, when you look at most storage systems design, they're a dual controller, and they're
Mhm.
active in most cases. In fact, there's a few that still aren't, which is very surprising. But we are a active. We have actually 3 controllers in our systems. So that gives us just better availability. We offer 100% availability guaranteed our InfiniBox and our InfiniBox SSA, our all-flash solution. And those are guaranteed in writing. We also offer 100% performance guarantees. Now, those guarantees differ on the regular InfiniBox, which happens to be a hybrid array with DRAM, flash, and hard drives. It's based on the applications that would run well on that platform. On our InfiniBox SSA all flash, obviously you'll get a better performance guarantee, or I should say guaranteeing higher performance, because it is DRAM and flash only, no hard drive. So we offer that
Mm.
as well as the 100% availability. And lastly, we offer a cyber resilience guarantee, which has 2 legs to it. First of all, as you know, immutable snaps are critical if you're going to
Mm.
avoid malware, ransomware, and cyber threats. So one, we guarantee that our snaps are indeed absolutely immutable. Second thing we do, and you alluded to this already, is recovery time. So we guarantee on our InfiniBox and our InfiniBox SSA, all flash, we will recover an immutable snapshot regardless of the size in 1 minute or less. And in fact, we did an end user demand gen webinar probably a month ago.
Mm.
one of the recoveries we did live, and you know me, I'm a crazy guy, so we don't pre-record anything. It's recorded now, but when we recorded it, it was being done live on real systems. So we recovered 175,000 high-res video files, and all of them aggregately were big enough to be about 200 terabytes in 4 seconds. I kid you not. 1, 2, 3, 4, and they were available. We also did one on secondary storage. Now, we partner with all the backup guys. As you know, we have our Infinidat solution, which you've written about before, our purpose-built backup appliance. It's incredibly fast. And we work with everybody: Veeam, Veritas, Commvault, IBM Protect, doesn't matter who it is. Oracle RMAN, we can back up using that facility as well. Anyway, at the same webinar, we did a demo, again live, and it was 20 petabytes, not 20 gig, not 20 terabytes, 20 petabytes of a Veeam backup repository. We recovered it in 11 minutes and 55 seconds. The Veeam guys couldn't believe it. In fact, Veeam invited me to present in their booth next week at VMworld Barcelona. I'll be at the Veeam booth. I present at the Veeam booth at VMworld in Las Vegas. And in fact, the Kasten Group, which, as you know, is their container backup company that Veeam acquired, they have us presenting at the coming KubeCon next week in Chicago. So we really do the right things with our backup partners. But the key thing is those guaranteed recovery point. So our RTO, under a minute on primary storage, the InfiniBox and the InfiniBox SSA all flash. And for secondary storage with our Infinidat platform, under 20 minutes, regardless of data set size. And yeah, you know well from your end user days that 20 petabytes in 11 minutes and 55 seconds is a pretty darn fast recovery.
Yeah, it's unheard of. But it isn't magic. You, a number of years ago, made a strategic decision to focus on software with your InfuseOS and, on the hybrid cloud environment. So that payoff now seems to be materializing. You're really getting the benefits of a pretty unique architecture, InfuseOS you've created. Maybe illuminate a little bit about that design,
Sure.
which isn't necessarily obvious. You just see the boxes and the arrays, but there's much more to the magic.
So what we've done is our InfuseOS is an operating system that works on all three platforms: the InfiniBox, the InfiniBox SSA, and on the Infinidat. And having been a startup, we didn't do custom hardware. We don't even do an array controller. We actually use just off-the-shelf servers in our racks. So we could use Dell servers, HP, Lenovo, Intel white box, doesn't matter to us. But we run our operating system just like you would run Windows or Linux on a regular server. So we don't do any custom ASICs and we do no custom flash. So what we've done is focus on the core software, the InfuseOS. And what we do is we optimize that. One of the key things on the performance side is our neural cache technology. On our all-flash solution, that allows us to deliver consistently latency of 35 mics. And the reason that's important is for highly transactional workloads. That's why an SAP workload that was 5 hours could go to 30 minutes, or an Oracle workload that was taking 20 hours could go to 2 hours. That's the power of our neural cache technology, which is in all of our products. Even our Infinidat, which actually has an InfiniBox embedded inside of it, uses the neural cache technology. So it allows us to do things incredibly fast. But we have more than that. Our InfiniSafe cyber resilience, that's part of the InfuseOS. Our InfiniOps, AI ops technology, that's also part of the InfuseOS. Our set it and forget it mentality, what we call autonomous automation. We have several public references, probably 20 or 30, that say they've had an InfiniBox or InfiniBox SSA or the Infinidat for 3, 4, 5 years, and they never touch it. It just runs and runs. Kind of like that old commercial for the Energizer Bunny. Remember right at Christmas time when they're doing the battery ads and they're runs and runs and runs. That's exactly what all three of our platforms do. But that's the power of the InfuseOS. And we do design the hardware right, like the tri-architecture, right? So we have active, active, active versus an active, active or active, passive controller configuration. But that was a design. We didn't custom do an array controller. We didn't custom do an ASIC. That was just the design content. The real IP, the hugest part of our IP, is in our software development team and what we do there.
Indeed. And still, you're upgrading capacity of the InfiniBox SSA to array. I saw some pretty cool announcements the last 30 days. Walk us through that investment, which is an immediate ROI for customers.
Well, one of the big things we did is we doubled the capacity of our all-flash array, the Infinibox SSA. Last year, at the very end of 2022, we doubled the capacity of our standard Infinibox, which happens to be a hybrid array. But this year, we updated. In both instances, the value is incredible returns on operating expense. In the same physical floor space with the SSA2, takes 50% less power, less cooling, clearly reduces the rack space because it used to be 2 racks to get to 6 petabytes. Now you can do it in 1, which frees up floor tiles. Okay. Obviously, operational manpower is reduced the less storage you have from a box perspective, the lower it is. And of course, we already just talked about our autonomous automation. So we're incredibly effective there. All of our guarantees are still there. It's just a bigger version of the SSA. We did keep the smaller version. So the 3.3 petabyte is still available as now the 6.6 petabyte, which is exactly what we did with our Infinibox platform. We kept the smaller one and then introduced an 18 petabyte last year. So now on our all flash, we keep the 3.3 petabyte and now add a 6.6 petabyte. So you get more flash. One of the real values beyond the, I'll say the tactical operating expense, which is the power, cooling, and floor space, are 2 things. First of all, you can consolidate more technology. So as an example, not on this platform, but with one of our other Infinibox SSAs, one of our customers in Europe consolidated 18 arrays, all flash from a competitor, to one Infinibox SSA. Another customer, a Fortune 100 here in the United States, they consolidated 450 floor tiles of rack. So 450 racks. Now they have 40 with our all flash array. And that's not even this new higher capacity. That's the older one. So not only do you save dramatically on the tactical OpEx, but that's a huge CapEx savings as well, because they were just going to buy another 120 arrays from somebody else. So that's a big difference and can really help you save money.
Yeah, it's interesting. This industry, as you know, is kind of a bit old-fashioned in the way it looks at, service and support models. And you've had a pretty disruptive approach to that as well. Not just the technology, but how you deliver support and service to cater to the kind of very different needs of distributed large global enterprises. Maybe shed some light on that approach in addition to the tech.
What we do is we provide, first of all, our default is level 3 tech support. So any of you who've had problems with just your home laptop, you go through, if it's a really nasty problem, you go through 3 layers, right? If you're doing it on the phone. Okay. Doesn't matter whether you're working with an office software product, doesn't matter whether it's a physical laptop. That's how you do it. Well, we don't do that. First of all, you get level 3 support right off when you need it. Secondly, we have our AI ops technology, InfiniOps, which is constantly traversing any of our systems to look for not only how to optimize performance and capacity, but any glitch in anything, whether it be in the software side or in the physical system itself, bad power supplies, bad fans, bad media. So it automatically will let us know, literally send an email to us and notify us and do all sorts of notification to the end user themselves. So that's what, and then in addition to the tech support, if you have a problem, every account is assigned what we call a technical advisor. And those technical advisors are included at no cost. So I used to work at 2 of the largest storage companies in the world. They also offered technical advisors, but they charged for them. We do not. So every account, big, medium, or small, has technical advisors. Some of our really big accounts, we have one customer who's close to 200 petabytes. They're clearly in the Fortune 100. And they have 2 technical advisors because we're all over the world with them and they've got 200 petabytes. But whether even a small customer, if you've got half a petabyte with us, you have a technical advisor. So their job is not tech support. We just talked about that, our level 3. Their job is optimizing applications, workloads, and use cases. How can they make that Mongo faster? How do you do better integration with VMware, which we have very strong integration with VMware. If you're doing backup, right, whether it be with our InfiniGuard or our Infinibox also is an excellent backup target as well. What do you do when you're doing with Commvault? How do you integrate with IBM Protect? What do you do with Veeam? What do you do with Veritas? What do you do with Oracle RMAN? In fact, Evan, we're about to release a public case study. It is a European Fortune 500, and they use us for both backup with InfiniGuard and primary storage with InfiniBox. They are just astounded at two things. One, how the technical advisors have helped them. So they are doing backup with both backup software and with Oracle RMAN. So they had one backup workload that was taking them 5 hours. Now the exact same backup workload, same backup configuration, in this case it's with the backup software, that was 5 hours is now 30 minutes. Then they were using Oracle RMAN for some of their Oracle backups. So one of those workloads that was taking 4 3/4 hours now takes 22 minutes. And most importantly, they practiced a down. So they practiced, what if we had a down situation? So what they did is they practiced it down, in this case, the Oracle with RMAN. As I mentioned before, there's an InfiniBox embedded inside of our InfiniGuard purpose-built backup appliance. What they were able to do is, when their regular systems were still not ready because they were doing a practice, they were able to boot and use the Oracle database that was on the InfiniGuard, because we have primary storage and InfiniBox embedded inside. So if this had been a real disaster, if it had been a real malware or ransomware attack, they could have had that database up and running almost instantaneously, because they were able, using Oracle RMAN. It's, the way that does backup versus the way backup software would back up an Oracle configuration. The database was available immediately. Now, that's not a normal scenario, right? But you never know. And that's the resiliency and the technical differentiation empowered by our software in the InfuseOS. In this case, it's, of course, Oracle RMAN working with our InfiniSafe technology that allows them to do this. And the fact that there's an InfiniBox inside of InfiniGuard basically means inside of what is a secondary storage platform, there's actually a primary storage platform. So in that default, they were able to boot and run the Oracle workload from essentially a purpose-built backup appliance, which you can't do with anybody else's. So very, very unique from a software configuration. And part of the way that happened was the technical advisor said, let's practice. What if there really is a problem? So we would argue, talking to anyone, CIO, CISO, that a malware or ransomware attack is a disaster. It may not be an earthquake like I have here in Silicon Valley. It may not be like a hurricane that you happen to have periodically on the East Coast, particularly in the Southeast, but sometimes, I know you're up in the Northeast, every once in a while, the hurricane, I think one of those years, a couple of years ago, wiped out all kinds of houses in the New Jersey coast and up on Long Island.
Yeah, no, it's a
And that was a
constant
hurricane,
concern.
right? So you've got that. And of course, as we both know, other than human beings, the most common form of data loss, despite fire suppression systems, is still fire in a data center, right? So we would argue that as part of your disaster recovery process, practicing if there's a flood or a fire, you should practice as if there was a malware or ransomware attack. So our technical advisor advised them to do that, and they did. And that's how we know that we can run an Oracle database and boot it off of a purpose-built backup appliance, which no one can do. But that came because they were talking about applications, workloads, and use cases, and how to optimize, which is what the technical advisor did for them.
Wow, truly white glove service. That's kind of an old-fashioned term, right? Does anyone wear white gloves anymore? I don't know if you have a pair. But
at fanciest restaurants, maybe in downtown New York or London or Paris, maybe you might see, the waiter wearing the white gloves. But, and in fact, we've had it cited several times. As you know, we've been an award winner from Gartner in both the Leaders Quadrant in, of course, their normal Magic Quadrant work, but they also do, and it's not the Gartner analysts, it's end users submit reviews of you and they rate you. So for 4 years running, we have received the Customer's Choice Award in storage. And the main reason we win is because the white glove service, right? The people, the real end users, not me, not you. We can't write anything. The only one who can write things are end users, and they vet it right on their website to validate that it's a real end user and not the vendor or one of their channel partners writing these reviews. So, the fact that we can win that award again and cited as part of when we get the award is the customers talk about our white glove support and service. And that's what clearly the software is differentiating, right? A lot of other players, and I've been at several of them, they do a great job with their custom ASICs or their array controller design. Not to knock them, but we focus so much on the software side to add value, both technical and business. And then we wrap that with the technical advisors and the fact that when you have a tech support problem, you go right to level 3, which is very unusual. Even our competitors that support global enterprises, usually you have to start with level 1, then level 2, then level 3. We just go right to level 3, skip their levels.
The time saved is enormous. And the flip side of climate, change and disaster recovery, disaster resilience is the effort towards greener data centers and green tech in general. Pretty much every telecom carrier I talk to's top imperative now is a greener infrastructure and operation. And they're not just paying lip service to that. It's actually part of the core mission now. How is that thinking driving, some of the architectural and product decisions at Infinidat?
Well, one of our key tenets is the ability to consolidate. I already mentioned earlier about 120 arrays on over 400 floor tiles down to 40 arrays on 40 floor tiles. And so that comes with reducing the power and cooling budgets. Those power and cooling budgets translate directly into environmental advantage. One other thing you get is the ability to recycle. As we all know well, whether it be a server, a laptop, network gear, or storage, all of them are filled with toxins. It's just the nature of what's in the chipsets and how things are put together. So that company had to recycle 450 racks worth of storage this time when they went to our 40. Okay. Now let's assume 3-4 years from now, they want the new InfiniBox SSA 4. We're on the SSA 2 right now. So they want the 4. So they're going to have to recycle. Okay. That toxic recycling is incredibly expensive for that global enterprise. So they had to recycle 450 racks. Now they'd only have to recycle 40. And that would save them money on that process. There'd be less environmental exposure because you just have less physical storage that you need. So we would argue, we call it E squared. You get economic advantage. Clearly, 120 arrays down to 40, save them on CapEx and OpEx, the economic advantage. But at the same time, when they do have to recycle this set, the current set they have from us, they'll be recycling less and less toxins. And 120 arrays used way more power, way more cooling, way more end user operational management, of course, but dramatically shrank 450 racks down to 40. So you have really what I'll call tactical environmental savings right away, which, by the way, translates into economic savings. And then at the end of the life cycle of the product, you're not recycling 450 racks worth of storage. You're recycling 40. And there's a cost to that, very expensive because of how storage and servers and networking gear all have toxins. It's just the nature of how these products are put together. So it costs you more than you or I just taking our glass bottle or our newspaper and recycling, which is much more easy to do. This is tough. So now not only are environmentally friendly because they're recycling less with less toxic exposure, they also get the economic advantage of way cheaper. So we would argue E squared, economic advantage equals environmental advantage. And we push that very heavily at Infinidat. And customers like yours, as we've talked offline, as you know, we're very strong in the telco space. We're very strong in the service provider space, CSPs, MSPs, MHPs. In fact, 2 weeks from now, I'm speaking at the MSP Global Conference in Germany. And there'll be thousands of CSPs, MSPs, and MHPs there, all talking about how they provide services and hosting and what they do, cloud services. And we're actually speaking on cyber storage for cloud providers to give them better coverage.
Fantastic event. I can't wait to hear your talk. A question I have, it's getting chilly in Germany. Where will you be wearing a Hawaiian shirt in freezing cold Europe?
Well, this coming week on November 7th, I'm presenting in the Veeam booth and the Intel booth. I will be wearing a Hawaiian shirt. And then, although it will be chilly in Germany, I already told them I would be wearing a Hawaiian shirt. Now, I may certainly be wearing a heavy duty sweatshirt and, maybe even a raincoat if it rains there. So I will be prepared. But yes, I will be wearing the infamous Herzog Hawaiian shirts. I noticed you've got one on as well. I love that look.
I had to match you, go toe to toe here on a Friday. So always fun chatting with you. Congrats on all the updates and the success, and have a great trip to Europe.
Great. Well, thank you very much. And of course, Evan, we always love talking to you. We've been doing it for years. You've been very supportive of my other companies and now, of course, with Infinidat. And our real focus is on applications, workloads, and use cases for end users. And we can talk bits and bytes. I mean, you know me. You've heard me talk bits and bytes. You know what? All I can say is the 1,000 CIOs I've met, I've never met one who used to be a storage admin. So that's the last thing they want to talk about. However, if you show them the storage can be environmentally friendly, the storage can be economically friendly, the storage can be cybersecurity friendly. Oh, and by the way, it can take their workloads from 5 hours to half an hour. They love that. That they understand, but they certainly don't understand TPI and BPI. And it'll be interesting to see how many end users that are listening into us right now, other than you and me, actually know what TPI and BPI are. So we don't want to say that to the CIO and most of the VPs in that, and let alone when you're talking to the CISO, right, about security. It's okay. How are you going to help me make secure, right? How do I have a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy for my entire IT organization and my data center? You don't talk about the details of how it works. You say, here's what we do, here's the guarantees we offer you, and then explain it at the high level. So we really are focused on applications, workloads, and use cases, but back it up with incredible technology and, very importantly, guaranteed SLAs. We put our money where our mouth is.
Wow. Well, that's the mic drop moment I think we were looking for. So it's always entertaining and informative chatting with you, Eric. So thanks for appearing here on the show. And thanks everyone for watching. Reach out to Eric. He tweets, he posts, he's on social media, and I'm sure would love to get your feedback. Thanks, Eric. Thanks everyone for watching.
Great. Thank you, Evan.